welcome to Beauties and Beasties, the independent pest podcast for the UK. That worked.
How the devil are you?
Just by the seat of our pants once again.
Yep, plan to perfection, right?
Everybody thinks it's a smooth run.
If people actually saw what went on prior to like this kicking off, they'd be absolutely shocked with the absolute tomfoolery.
Yes, but it's always great. It's always great. At least we got guests. I can see guests. That's the main thing. And especially as the guys are coming in from America, well, not coming in, but coming over from America, it's always a panic with the time spans. And did I get the timings right? Did I give them the right time? Is it Eastern time? Is it Central time? Is it,
Forest? Yeah. Was it Mountain time? Was
Mountain time, wasn't it?
What was he called? Minkman. Minkman was Joseph. Like, I'm on Mountain time. And I was like, mate, I think you're the only one in the world on Mountain time, aren't you?
Yeah, but we just thought that was just a joke. And it's like, no, this is a real thing.
Yeah, Mountain time, yeah. They've got like 7 time zones over there, don't they? But we've just got GMT, don't we? Good old GMT.
So unfortunately, you got me again for a double bubble from last week and this week. So last week's was really good.
Yeah.
Well, the guest was really good. And
I got to meet him, didn't I?
You did at PPC Live.
Yeah. For those who weren't there, we had PPC Live this week at Harrogate, the BPCA show. Really good show. Well put on, well organised, run very smoothly. A credit to anybody and everybody who was involved in running that. Got to put some names to faces. Again, got to meet some people who I've never met before, but know them via sort of the internet. That was good. It's funny, isn't it? How many people do you know now that you would consider as friends that you've never met in person, which is crazy, isn't it? It's like pen pals on speed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kids now, if you said to them, we used to have pen pals when we were in school, they'd be like, what? Pen pals? You're writing someone in postbox? Yeah, and all that sort of shit. Now you've just got like this, haven't you? But yeah, how's your week been?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Been ticking along this week. Yeah, it's gone a little bit quiet again, but no, it's pretty good. Gearing up, ready for the summer season, which is something we want to talk to our guys in America about, because I believe it's their silly season coming up. So we'll hopefully get in on that one and see what they say about that. So everything's it's been ticking along all right this week. Yeah, not too bad at all. Can't complain.
Yeah.
You? You've been PPC Live. What else could there be? PPC Live.
There's stuff happening all the time outside, isn't there? It's just PPC Live was the big thing this week.
I can't remember the last time I went to an exhibition.
For anybody who's never been, you're probably not going to see anything you haven't seen before. You're probably not going to be bowled over by it. That's the truth. However, if you approach them with the right mindset, that it is absolutely a networking event, a chance to meet your peers and to gain new friendships, because you absolutely do, and to renew old friendships, they are a fantastic opportunity. I spent most of the day with Reese Cunningham. Haven't seen or heard Reese for probably about 12 months. Putting the world to rights. It's absolutely fantastic. Got to meet loads of great people. Savas, obviously, and others. Fantastic. If you haven't been to PPC or to Pest Tech or to Excel or whatever it is, I would strongly suggest that you go to one, because they are a great opportunity for everybody involved, I would say. And make sure you stop and speak to people. Don't walk around without saying hello. It's not rocket science, but good seminars and all that. But I want to get the guests on. Do you?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Come on. Yeah, come on.
Shall I do it? Yeah, right. We'll add Jake first. Hello, Jake. And then we're going to add Eric. Hello, Eric.
Hey.
Are you brothers?
We get that question a lot.
Yes.
Did your mum
yes
dress
no.
you before you left the house this morning? Did you just ring each other and say, "Listen, we're going for the hair up green shirt"?
But look, if you split the screen in half, you've got the Boldy brothers, the Fight Club Challenge, and then you've got the
Yeah, well, the secret is that Jake's wife, which is my sister, cuts both our hair. So there's only one haircut she does, and it's.
I was going to say, is that it? It's one style.
Yeah.
What style would you like?
Yep.
Oh, you want a short back and sides, do you? Tough. You're having this.
Well,
Yep.
it's called. My nickname is the Klaus Man, and so this haircut is officially called the Klaus Man. However, Jana, she's been cutting Eric's hair all this time as well, and Eric's haircut is just slightly different than mine originally was. And then my wife said, "You know what? Let's try this thing that I've been doing with Eric's hair on yours." So I don't know, Eric. What do we call it? It's a hybrid between our two haircuts, and now people get us confused all the time. They say, "You guys brothers?" Well, kind of. Yeah, we're brothers, but not blood. We're brothers-in-law.
So that's the connection, right? Got you.
Yeah. Yep.
So brothers-in-law that are both happen to be pest controllers.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, Jake drug me into pest control.
Right. Come on then. Let's say so. Let's start with Jake then. How did you get into pest control to start with?
So that's a great story. This is my 20th year. I got started in pest control in 2005. So 2 decades in the industry. I had served an LDS mission. I think like a lot of pest control guys in the United States, came back. I was going to school at Boise State and met this guy who was like, "Hey, come sell pest control." So I went to California, sold pest control for 2 years. And then came back to Boise, where we lived. Eric and I are both originally from Boise. Met my wife, and my original career path was to be a firefighter paramedic. So I was a firefighter for a while there. Went to paramedic school, and then I'd finished paramedic school, and I'm putting in resumes all over the West for paramedic jobs, and I'm getting these job offers back, and they're like, "Hey, man, we'd love to have you as a paramedic here. We pay $7.25 an hour, but don't worry, you work like 80 hours a week." And so I'm looking at this going, "Man, I'm making 6 times that in a summer, so it just didn't jive." So then my wife and I said, "Well, what are we going to do? Got to kind of ditch that career. Let's just keep selling pest control." And then about 12 years ago, 2013, we moved from Boise over here to the Vancouver, Washington, not Canada, Vancouver, Washington, near the Portland, Oregon area, and started Natura Pest Control here. So been doing it ever since.
Cool.
Yep.
Do you know you're the second guy who's LD, for people who don't know, Latter-day Saints, isn't it? It's a church. We had
Joseph, isn't it?
Yeah, we had Joseph Carter Minkman on. Have you seen him on YouTube?
Joseph Carter. Is that
The Mink
his name?
Man.
The Minkman? Ollie, are you joking?
Oh,
Hang
the
on.
guy from Idaho. Yeah, he raises the minks.
Yeah.
Right?
So he was
And
telling
then like
us.
he's like clubbing the minks on YouTube, right? For furs. Is that who you're talking about?
No, this guy.
Sorry, that took a dark turn, didn't it?
He caught like wild mink and went down the mink farm and got the most wild mink that you possibly can get, and then he's tamed them and he goes hunting rats with them with that, and he's got like a couple of pit bull terriers and stuff like that. If you want to see someone absolute, and I mean this lovely because he was my favorite guest, he's wild, fucking wild, like grade A wild. He is like he's proper off the trolley. He was fantastic. Hugh shouts at us when we get to an hour and a half. He's like, "Time, stop! Like this is the rules. Hour and a half." Like with 10 minutes left, he was like, "Let him run, let him go," because he was just off like a steam train. He was the best guest. And if you haven't had him on, I'd strongly suggest you get him on. He's absolutely awesome. But that's what he was, Latter-day Saints, and he'd done a lot of the missions. Tell him about it when he like going off to do a mission.
Yeah.
But,
Definitely.
Yeah.
So how did you get into it then, Eric? How were you snowballed into pest control?
Yeah. So by the time that I was graduating high school, Jake had already married my sister. And so I knew that he was already out selling pest control. And before I graduated high school, Jake was like, dude, what are you doing to work in the summertime? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'll go work for my dad or do something. And he's like, you need to go sell pest control somewhere. You'll make great money. Get out, get away from your parents, get out, experience the real world. So I went to Bakersfield, California. Horribly hot, the worst. 115 degrees every single day, all summer long. And I remember telling myself at the end of that summer, pest control was cool. I came, I saw, I conquered, never again. Right. And I came back home to Boise, a little bit of money in my pocket, spent it pretty quick, as most 18-year-olds do. And next summer pops up and Jake is like, hey, what are you doing for work this summer? I found a local company here in Boise, Idaho that I can sell for. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, I guess I am, right? It's the golden handcuffs. So me and Jake went and sold for this local company in Boise for a few years. And when Jake left to go start Natura, I actually stayed with that company. And I eventually became their sales manager, director of sales. And then in 2016, they were purchased by Rent-A-Kill. And I joined kind of the Rent-A-Kill team, was a regional sales manager for them for the Pacific Northwest. And I actually started traveling to the same market that Jake had started Natura in. So now I'm going there for Rent-A-Kill. Jake's there with Natura. After a couple years, we're like, dude, what are we doing? Let's join forces. So Jake brought me into the Natura team as their director of sales and marketing. And then we had a business partner. I should say Jake had a business partner that wanted to make an exit. And I had an opportunity to sell some real estate and leverage some other assets and buy in. So that was the beginning of my ownership experience with Natura. And that was back in 2019. And there we go. So it's been kind of a wild ride for me, but I've been following Jake through this whole pest control experience. And now we're both associate certified entomologists and running the podcast. It's been great.
So you said that so when you go to high school, then do you have like a careers pattern? Because it's a big thing at the moment over here in the UK, and it's like, how do we get people into pest control? Because people don't honestly believe at school, and they think, do you know what? Well, there are a few. Do you know what? Well, yeah, and that's when you get the odd letters. I kill things in the back garden. I've always wanted to be a pest. No. But nobody goes to school and thinks I really want to be a pest control. Well, not many. Is that the same over there, or is it not seen as a career? Or
there are some career paths you can take through high school before people go to college or university, but really it's very generalized. You get through high school and then you go to college. Yeah, and trades now are becoming a lot more popular. So pest control is one of those things, at least in the States for us. Every time we ask somebody, hey, when you got into pest control, did you expect that it was going to become a career for you? 99.9% is no. It's just some job that they found doing something, or somebody asks them, hey, you want to come work for me or my buddy or whatever. And then they just get roped into it. And 10, 15, 20 years later, here they are.
Yeah. People just fall into it.
When you said you start, like, do you want to come and sell pest control? Does that mean that you weren't technicians, and do people start being salesmen then become technicians, or they start technician? Because we would normally start as a technician, and it's weird to hear them go, yeah, I was making more money being involved in pest control, because in this country, like, the wages are shit.
Yeah, no, we didn't start out as technicians. I mean, we were just doing strictly door to door. I mean, we were just going door to door selling pest control. And then the technicians would follow behind us either the same day, or, you'd set up your route for the following day. And the technicians would just come service all the accounts that you sold the day before. And that was our sole role. We worked strictly on commission. And that's how it was. I mean, selling door to door is a big thing in the United States. And, people sell everything from pest control to security systems to solar to roofs. I mean, they sell everything door to door, but Eric and I fell into that. So that's all we did. We would just go door to door. I think when we very first started out, we were making, what was it, like 18 or 19% commission on the first year contract value, And so you're making, I mean, it's a joke. I mean, when we were just wrapping up having sales teams, we were paying those guys 50, 60% overall commissions on their first year contract value. And you see some companies paying, I mean, dude, you get marketing, pest control companies will hire marketing companies who will bring in their own door-to-door teams here in the United States. And the marketing companies will charge what, 100%, 110% on the first year contract value. It's nuts.
People get pissed off when you're knocking on their door trying to sell things. It'd be like, get out of it.
What's weird is that, in California was one of those states where it was popularized way earlier. I mean, they were selling everything like oil changes door to door. It got pretty wild. And so when my first summer, I knocked on doors, people were pretty used to it. It's, oh, hey, it's the bug guy. Like, hey, what's up, bug dude? And, you know, hey, I already used somebody. And they all had pest control anyway. So it was a pretty normal, typical experience. When I came back to Idaho is a very rural, do-it-yourself, door-to-door is weird. Why are you selling me pest control kind of state? And so every person that I talked to, we had to explain why we were even there in the first place. Like, why had we even knocked on the door? And it had some of its advantages because people weren't burnt out on door to door yet. And Idaho's generally a pretty nice place. So you knock on the door and people are like, oh, hi, stranger. Like, who are you? And you just kind of explain away. Nowadays, it's hit some rough patches in certain areas. There are locales and municipalities that have completely banned door to door, which has its own set of restrictions and stuff. It's weird.
Well, and a lot of that has to do also with this the culture of some door to door companies. A lot of door to door teams are aggressive. They're pushy. They're off-putting. They piss people off. I mean, here in our market, just Portland, Vancouver, there's a pest control company. It's a local pest control company, but they hired a marketing team to come in. And these guys brought in a team of 60 sales reps to go door to door here in the Portland, Vancouver area. And these guys were so aggressive and they were so off-putting that company actually has, I think right now it's 3 or 4 outstanding upcoming lawsuits against the company. So yeah, when you have teams like that go through a market, they can absolutely ruin the door-to-door experience for an entire market. And it sucks because then you've got companies like us that our pissing people off is not on our agenda. So it can muddy the waters a little bit for all the other companies.
So as a salesman, you go to the door, right? You knock on the door. They say, "Oh, I've already got somebody." How do you then turn that around? Is it all on price, or is it like, "Oh, you've got somebody, we're going to walk away," or is it like, "Well, here's my card. Give us a call if you." How's that work?
So it depends on the level of sales guy, and you learn it pretty quick early on. We always used to say, don't give the new sales guy any flyers. Like, don't give him any cards. Don't give him anything, right? Because most of the people will say that. They're like, "Oh, thanks, but no thanks. I have somebody, I do it myself, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, here's a card." And he'll give away cards all summer long and never sell anybody. But most of the time, the best salesmen learn to ask really good questions. So when someone says, "Oh yeah, we already use somebody." "Oh, that's great. Yeah, pest control's a requirement, especially in this kind of area. Who do you guys use?" "Oh, we use so-and-so." "Oh, what's been your experience?" "Oh, it's been great." "Oh, what pest issues are they taking care of?" "Oh, they're taking care of the ants." "Oh, where are you guys seeing your ants at?" "Oh, out on the back patio." "Hey, I'd love to take a look while I'm here. Give you a free quote." "Sounds good." And then you enter and close, right? So there's this whole flow that me and Jake have taught a lot of our sales teams. And it's all about keeping that conversation smooth, right? The smoother you can have the conversation, the easier it is that you can develop a relationship. You ask the right questions in the right order, and then you've got an opportunity to close the deal. So a lot of the customers that we've been able to sell over the years, some of them have never used pest control before. Most of them have at some point. A lot of them were switchovers.
Yeah. So obviously you can.
Oh no, go ahead.
You can tell by our questions that we don't have that sort of thing where you're going door to door for domestic customers. That's just not a thing. You ain't doing that. They're going to kick you because there isn't a problem. It doesn't work like that over here.
Yeah. Does it cause resentment between firms?
So that's the thing is that it can. It can. It's funny because there's another pest control company that started the same summer that we did, and they're. I mean, I could if I knew how to golf, I could drive a golf ball into their parking lot from our parking lot. They're like around the corner, and so it can. I mean, everybody switches over everybody's accounts, and I mean, it happens. They switch over your account, and then a year later, your guy goes and switches their account back. I mean, it's just kind of like that. There have been a handful of, I mean, a small handful, but a handful of other local companies that we've got a really good relationship with, and so oftentimes we'll tell our guys, hey, look, if you run into this customer, just
Back off.
just back off a little bit, unless they push it, then so we'll do that sometimes, but for the most part we're switching over accounts that are either national companies or companies that have they're nationwide companies that have door teams, and they specialize in sales, not in pest control. And so on the sales side, they're awesome, but they suck at pest control. So those companies are usually pretty easy to switch over. But I saw Rupert just asked a question, what does a standard package for domestic? Does that mean like a residential? Is that what
Yeah.
that means? Residential customer? Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to get the lingo. I know that Brits and Yanks, is that what we're called? Are we Yankees? I don't know.
Yeah, Yanks. Yeah, that'll
Yanks.
do.
Okay. So I know that we Yanks do things a little bit. We have different terminology, but generally speaking, in most markets in the United States, we're doing quarterly maintenance, pest control. So you've got ongoing issues with bugs. Here, our pest pressures are always going to be wasps, spiders, ants. We've got some WDOs like carpenter ants and other things like that. Rodents, rats, and mice, obviously. And so your general pest service is going to include an exterior treatment, sweep the spider webs and wasps off of the outside of the house, do a liquid treatment at the foundation, crawl space vents around doors and windows and garage seals and any of the entry points. And then we'll
Spray
also
and
apply
pray.
a granule. Spray and pray. Yep. Yeah. Well, there are, I mean, here, the temperature and the climate is perfectly suited to having a lot of pests that enter people's homes, especially our big pest is odorous house ants. So, I mean, it's not a question of when are you going to have odorous house ants? It's a question of when was the last time you saw them in your house? Nobody likes those here. So we've got our pest service dialed in where we're hitting those things. And then, in between your quarterly treatments, when you've got issues with any pest, in the summertime, wasps or ants at any time, then we'll come back out and we'll do a retreatment at no cost, to take care of those pest issues.
So we see because it's all gone slightly a different way here. In America, it seems like you still do quite a lot of exterior baiting for rodents. Permanent baiting, is that going to stop with the problems with
rodenticide bans?
Yeah.
Oh, gee. You know what? That California thing is starting to slowly trickle. Whatever California is doing is eventually what Oregon and Washington are going to be doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first gen and all these other different generations of rodenticides and the anticoagulant based baits, we run into lots of issues with that, lots of regulation, and Oregon and Washington, me and Jake are good friends with people that are on the state associations on both of those. And they do a lot of fighting to preserve and prevent additional regulations from coming in and taking away our ability to use those products effectively. In most cases, the problems that arise from that aren't from like PCOs, pest control, operators and professionals putting them in locked bait stations the way that they're supposed to be used. It comes from people that are misapplying and mismanaging those baits. So it's a little bit of a struggle, but yeah, the areas that we do service in, I think within the next probably 2 to 4 years, we're going to see some significant difference in what we can use, which is going to be tricky.
Yeah, it's going to be really tricky because I mean, here in the Pacific Northwest, it's like as soon as you move to the Northwest, it's like welcome to Washington State. Here are your 5 chickens. Like everybody has backyard chickens. The rat pressure is really heavy up here. Mouse pressure is really heavy up here, and people put out bird feeders, and Eric likes to call those rat feeders. Oh yeah, birds love your rat feeders, and so that's a pest pressure that is not going to go away. And so our objective with baiting, a baiting program, is to, if they've got rodents inside the house, and we start there, but then eventually we want to move that baiting program further and further away from the house. So once we're not seeing any on the inside, move into the foundation, then fence line, and so on.
And so for you guys there, it would be brown rats, would it? Because I know we had Neve Quinn on, and she was mainly dealing with black rats, Rattus. So
yeah, we do see roof rats, Rattus, the black roof rats. But in our area, it's primarily the Norway rat or brown rat. We see I mean, they're all over. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people. I mean, even we live out in the country. And my next door neighbor, we're all on acreage, but she's got chickens and goats, and we get her rats coming up here. So, yeah, rats are a big problem, especially in Portland. Portland is very, very rat heavy.
And I feel quite lucky.
What's that?
I feel quite lucky. Like we have high rat pressure in our city centres, but as a general rule, we don't have that, do we? We don't have like everyone has Don't get us wrong. If we have someone who has chickens, it's horrific, isn't it? They're like on you within 10 seconds, and they're just fucking there 24/7, aren't they? You kill them in the back straight away. So I do feel for you, but I've always felt like we have it quite tough. But listening to you, how do you do a quarterly visit for something like that without end up sort of losing your arse financially if you've got to go back and do free retreats for things like that?
Creating a really effective rodent program, we teach our technicians all about conducive conditions, because that's what we're dealing with. You have not just the chickens, but people that have a lot of pets and other animals on their property. And so, they're putting out dog food. They're not keeping that stuff in sealed containers. We have crawl space construction on a lot of these homes. And so we'll have piping and conduit stuff that's going down, below the house. And the holes that get drilled for this stuff are way bigger than the actual lines that go in. Mm-hmm. You've got an instant entry point, crawl space vents that get damaged. And so there's a lot of conducive conditions that contribute to rodent activity in these areas. And so from a technical standpoint, the technician isn't just going out there and putting out bait, but he's also talking to all these homeowners. Hey, here's what I'm noticing around the house that's actually contributing to this. You need to either fix these things, or you can pay us or another contractor to fix them for you. But until you really do that, we're not going to be able to get good control over this issue. So it's a collaborative effort between the pest control companies and the homeowners.
Yeah.
You can tell that I've said that once or twice, right?
Just once or twice.
We have to explain it to everybody in the area.
Yeah, well, it's all about communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
So was there, with the Gene Hackman thing with the hantavirus, was there a sudden big kickoff over there with that, or was that just overplayed? Or
what's interesting,
I don't know that we really heard a lot. I don't know that we really heard a lot about that. We mentioned hantavirus to our customers. That's one of the big things is, if you're seeing a big pile of mouse poop, don't sweep it up. We do have deer mice here in the area, so that's a real threat. So we'll always tell people, look, if you've got a little pile of mouse poop or behind your cabinet or in your garage or something, then we'll tell them, spray it with bleach water. Spray the poops with bleach water.
Wipe it up,
first.
Don't sweep it.
Wipe it, don't sweep it. Yeah, just the precautions. But when I saw that Gene Hackman thing, I thought, holy crap, this is pest control in the news. How wild is that he and his wife? And so either that's really what happened, or the Hollywood cabal got to him and killed him because he was about to reveal some secrets that they didn't want. So I don't know, but our customers, nobody ever asked about it. And
okay.
I don't know. I think I just got buried in the news probably.
I always thought, there's there are companies over here that suddenly brought it up. Some rather big companies, hantavirus. And I was thinking, well, I think I might be completely wrong, but I think we've had one case of hantavirus ever in the UK. But suddenly it's like, fuck it out. This is an opportunity to sell. Don't have your pest control company in. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Funny you say that, Hugh, because we do a bit of work with solicitors for housing disrepair, and I get to read the reports written by previous pest control companies, which are usually nationals that get that type of work, and fucking everyone's at risk of getting a hantavirus. Like everyone.
You take one little thing. Back during COVID, I don't know if you caught wind of this in the news, but there was one giant Asian hornet that was sampled up in North Washington, north of Seattle.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, that was all the rage. All the news agencies picked
murder hornet.
Oh yeah, the murder hornet, and we were getting calls from people. I mean, COVID was a time of freaking out, jumping to conclusions. Everything's going to kill you. So we got calls in the office. Do we have murder hornets here? And we did a little commercial or a little ad where we kind of played on that a little bit. But yeah, things can get sensationalized. I was interviewed by the news. Oh, how long? Maybe 8 or 9 months ago. There was supposedly this flying spider.
That was the Joro spider.
The Joro spider, this flying venomous spider, and people were flipping out. And so, we had been on the news a couple of times before, the Portland news station. And so the guy called me and said, "Hey, what's the deal with this flying spider?" So I went on the news and said, no, God did not suddenly create spiders with wings. That's not a real thing. So I explained ballooning and, the behavior and all that stuff. And so they aired that. On the other hand, though, I feel like I kind of wish that we could just let those rumors just kind of play out. Sometimes I'd be like, it's good to go in and clear up that misinformation. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, I wonder what happened if we just sat back and watched how this thing played out.
I mean, with the rodent thing, there is enough diseases there to be able to kill people. It's not like you've got to blow it out of proportion, is it? We all learn the diseases so that when we're selling it, this is the benefit. You're not going to get this, and you're not going to get salmonella, and you're not going to get contract vials disease. There's no need to make anything else up.
Yeah.
No, yeah, well, the vectors of disease, it's all this stuff is horrible anyway, and the cleanliness and sanitation and everything. Hantavirus, like you guys were saying before, the odds of that are so slim. Cases don't happen very often, but there probably are a lot of other cases of other things that were being contributed by rodent activity that people don't even realize.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. We make sure that our customers know, lepto is a big thing. So, if our technicians know that if they are servicing a home where there's a woman is pregnant, make sure she knows not to, wear a respirator or not a mask, or just be careful handling the cat poop in the litter box. And there's little things that we let people know about. But I'm surprised that in the UK you don't capitalize on that whole bubonic plague thing. I mean, it's 700 years ago, but you'd think that maybe.
Well, you say 700 years ago, but I think if I remember rightly, about 5 or 6 years ago, we had someone come down with the plague because he was bitten by a bat.
A bat?
Yeah, they reckon bats are still a vector for it, and it's just no one ever gets bitten by them. And
was that wasn't Ozzy Osbourne biting the bat, or was that the bat bit someone?
Oh yeah, no, he was like an animal lover and was handling this bat, which gave him a nip, and
kissing
the
it.
next thing he was down with he was down with the plague, I think it was. That's right, isn't it, Hugh?
Yeah.
I can't remember that one. I know that wasn't there a case. I thought actually there was a case. Wasn't there been a case of bubonic plague in America recently?
Well, in Idaho, where Eric and I are from, where Eric lives right now, there's what we call them, whistle pigs. What are they? They're Colombian
prairie dogs,
prairie dog, little prairie dogs like this big. Anyway, there's a huge well, in Idaho we call them whistle pigs. They make a whistling sound.
They're a kind of groundhog.
I thought that was the women that you see on Saturday night that get rather drunk.
Right.
I'm going to
That
start
too,
using that.
probably.
Hugh, I'm stealing that from you.
Oh no, that's whistle at the pig.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. No, but so there's a whole population of whatever they are. We call them whistle pigs, but in the desert areas south of Boise, there's a ton of them out there, and they burrow holes. And the Army National Guard does training rotations and stuff out there. But plague is a big factor out there. The fleas that are on those whistle pigs are just loaded with the plague. So it does still exist. It is close, but apparently the plague has there's an easy remedy to it nowadays, antibiotics or something like that, and it cures it.
How do they control those then? Do they use the old rodinator and the burrows?
They just let them run free, and then
in Idaho, obviously you guys probably know that there's a lot of firearms and guns. Idaho and Texas probably have the vast majority of those. But it's a good little pastime to just take your guns out to the desert and just
shoot whistle
a little
pigs.
bit of pest control, a little bit of community pest control there.
I wanted to ask: when they do this, do you need license? Do you need permission to go on someone's land to shoot it, or do they just go carte blanche and the people it's okay, it's just shooting groundhogs, or how does it work? Because over here, it is absolutely you need that permission. You've got to have written permission, and it's difficult to get, and blah blah blah. So. How does it work over there?
So in Idaho, you just kind of have just federal land, just land that doesn't necessarily belong to anybody. And so, like Jake was saying, the military uses it for training exercises, so they take precedence if they want to do anything on it. But just the community, go out there and shoot, do whatever you want. If you go out in the summertime, there's people with shotguns and all sorts of other stuff out there just shooting stuff.
Start driving out there, and it's just desert. And so there's
I promise you now, I promise you, right? If we went on to government land with a gun, started shooting shit, we'd get 7 years.
Welcome to America.
I wouldn't see my family for the next fucking 3.5 years, would I, Hugh?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
just walk out with a gun, you'd be arrested.
Yeah.
Well, in Idaho, it's open carry. It's lawful concealed carry, open carry. Washington State, same thing, open carry. But if you guys ever do come to the States, we'd love to take you out there. There's a sign along the road, no shooting, no shooting. And then you hit a sign, shooting is okay past this point. So we just go out there. Everybody's got at least a 22, and we just go out there and just pop the whistle pigs, and they're cannibalistic. So as soon as you shoot one, then more start coming, and they're eating the dead ones, and then you got more. And you tuck your pants into your socks so that you don't get fleas going up your legs, and you try to stay away from them. But it's actually really fun. This is the time of year on a warm day, end of March, beginning of April. This is their breeding season. So right now is the time on a warm day, 60 degrees. Go out there.
I can just imagine you guys, a couple of deck chairs, a few beers, couple of guns, there we go. Bit of music on in the background, just like circus, isn't it?
Yeah, you nailed it. It's the American way. It's
perfect Saturday.
Country, I'd move there though. Telling you, if I had to move to a country, that's where I would move. I would. Maybe it's not so much shooting them, but I would love that. I would love that lifestyle. It would be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good life.
It's a good time. It's a very good time.
Yeah. So, but hang on a second, because what I wanted to ask, because I've got a horrible feeling we're just going to do that for an hour and a half. I want to know about BugBux. How did you set it up? How have you found it? What's been good? What's been difficult? How have people behaved towards you? Because we're getting to a point now where I can feel things sort of changing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. When me and Jake first started in pest control, nobody really collaborated. Nobody shared secrets. Nobody talked about what their proprietary, systems were, and it was very hush hush. And I remember, talking to one of my coworkers in the pest control company I worked for before Natura, and I said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we just got a community together and just asked owners, hey, what works and what doesn't?" And he was like, "No. There's no way that anyone would ever go for that, And Alan Draper, a business partner of ours who owns Proof Pest Control here in the States, in 2020, he just started this Facebook group, and it was called How to Start and Grow Your Pest Control Company. And people who wanted to collaborate started joining the group. I joined the group. And that's the way that it was for about a year. And we started getting hundreds of just pest control owners that wanted to share information. And we ended up hiring Hunter, another one of our business partners now, as our content guy. And he was like, dude, this is great. You guys should take this information. We should make a podcast with it. We should make a learning platform, education platform with it, which we've done. And now we've got a whole community. I think the group has about 5,000 pest control owners in it. We do events. BugBux Con was a big hit. We've got the education platform still, the podcast, obviously. So it's just a really cool community of like-minded pest control professionals that want to collaborate and help each other out.
Yeah, it filled a gap in that space that was really needed, because there are other Facebook groups for pest control companies that have been around for a long time in the States. I think that you see there's also international members, in those groups, and the culture of those other Facebook groups is pretty toxic. I mean, you have somebody that asks a question, maybe they're a new PCO just starting out, and they'll ask a question, and it's a quote unquote a dumb question, and they'll get 10 people that'll jump on them. What? You're such an idiot. Why are you asking that question? Yada yada. Yeah. So we very carefully and intentionally use BugBux as a platform where there's a high level of collaboration, and like the underwritten rule is don't be a dick on the podcast or on the Facebook group. And if you're a dick, we're gonna kick you out. And so over the last few years, that culture has just kind of permeated, and it's actually started, what you could consider, right, Eric, a bit of a movement in the pest control community, at least among those 5,000 plus and growing PCOs, where people are excited to help each other. You'll get a guy on there that'll say, hey, I'm thinking of switching CRMs. This is the one that I'm using right now. What are your guys' recommendations? And within an hour, there's like 40 comments, people just saying, hey, DM me. Hey, I'm using this. Hey, reach out to me. Hey, let me help you. And so the way that the pest control community is, it's a small community anyway, even in the United States, where you've got tens of thousands of pest control companies. You go to these conventions, national conventions, and it's you realize how small of a community it actually is. And so BugBux is really doing a lot of great things to shrink that to shrink the size of what feels like, not to make it smaller, but to bring everybody closer together. And
so how
and
much
such
did that
a high
take
level
over
of collaboration. No, go
how
ahead.
much did that take over from the business then, as such?
What's funny is that if you ask anybody, if you ask me to take on a project, the usual answer is no. But if you ask me to kind of maybe consult or like take a little piece of a project, the answer is usually yes. And for me, that's how BugBux started. Alan reached out to me in the beginning and said, hey, do you want to, just guest appear on my podcast for a couple weeks? And I said, sure, that sounds great. And I never left. So he roped me into the podcast, and then we eventually got roped into developing this educational platform. And then I roped Jake and Jana into the organization. And so now we've got an executive assistant. We have BugBux meetings every single week. I'm not sure exactly what percentage of time it's taken up, but it's been crazy to see the growth of it. What we thought was just going to be a little side Facebook community that we kind of jumped into has become its own business entity all in itself. And what takes up a lot of our time now is that BugBux is continually developing relationships with vendors in the pest control industry. We wanted to go out and start interviewing and vetting vendors that we thought could be good recommendations for our community, and then kind of curate these little marketing packages for them and then present them to the group. And now, I don't know how many vendors we have in the network already, but it's growing. Me and Jake talked to a vendor yesterday. We talked to another vendor today. we usually have about 2 or 3 of those meetings every single week. So eventually, the community itself will have everything that you need, from the network connections all the way through to the vendor recommendations.
Yeah, and I think all along our philosophy has been that we want to hire ourselves out of a job. So I mean, when we started Natura, that was the idea. We had a 10-year goal that in 10 years we would, quote unquote, semi-retire, so that we could start other ventures and be involved in other things. And so here we are at year 12. We've been involved with BugBux for me and my wife Jana, who's also our business partner in Natura. And we should have Jana on the show, because she's freaking brilliant. I mean, as far as business goes, as far as having insight and vision, and I mean, she's just so brilliant. I mean, she has been instrumental in getting Natura to where we are, and BugBux to where we are. She's just amazing. But that was our vision all along. Is we wanted to bring people into our organization, our pest control company, that we could develop and eventually hand the reins over, so that we could be working on the business instead of in the business, and provide great career opportunities for other people. And so we've got a guy that has been with us for many, many years. He was our service manager for a while. And then a little bit ago, we moved him into the general manager position. And the dude has just taken the business by the reins. He's what we've called an entrepreneur. That's a term that we heard somewhere. And, entrepreneur is the guy that goes out and starts a business. Entrepreneur is the person inside the business that takes extreme ownership of his role to grow the business. And we're just so lucky to have this guy, Aaron, as our GM. So that freed up time for us.
An entrepreneur was an entrepreneur who didn't want to risk his money.
Yep, exactly.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, they want to leverage other people's assets.
Yeah, they're happy to be second in command, aren't they? But they still have those entrepreneurial skills.
Yep.
Yeah. In fact, sometimes you have to say, hey, you got to bring some of this stuff to us first. And he'll say, oh, sorry, I gotta pump the brakes. But now we're like, hey, just if it's a big thing, let us know. But otherwise, don't pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, with you guys where you are, do you have your own association, or is there an association like the NPMA, or is that a across America thing? Is there an across America association, or are they all little associations?
That's separately? A good question. Yeah, so there's the National Pest Management Association, or the NPMA, and they're obviously the nationwide, but most states also have a state pest control association. And usually the way that it goes is if you are a member of your state association, it automatically links you with the NPMA. So Washington State does have a Washington State Pest Management Association, the WSPMA. There's different committees. There's different groups within that association. I'm on the education committee for the WSPMA, and we have a regional conference that we go to every year in Hood River, Oregon, which was just about a month ago. And we're friends with the guy who is the new president of the OPMA, Oregon, I think is what it's called, the Oregon Pest Management Association. Yep. And this guy was saying, whatever I got to do to get you guys to be on the board of the Oregon Pest Management Association would be great. So yeah, we get involved. We put on trainings. Last September, the WSPMA's education committee put on a rat academy. So, I mean, we do all kinds of stuff inside the state, but it's also associated with the NPMA.
Right. So the NPMA sits at the top, and then there's little, bits that come down for each state.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. And then there's another bit that comes down for the county, or I don't quite understand.
There are not on our side of the states. There are on the eastern side. There are some municipalities Florida. And up in the east side, they have their own organizations, which the NPMA actually tries to limit, because when you have different governing bodies over pesticide applicators within the same state, it gets really complicated. So they're actually trying to take away as much of that as possible. But the good thing is that all these state associations, even though they they are kind of what I might say affiliated with the NPMA. They're completely separate entities. So they don't answer to the NPMA at all, but they do run concurrent events with the NPMA.
Ah, right. So they're not the NPMA can't say, look, you guys, you do this, you do that. They're just associated, not in direct control.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
And how much does it cost you guys? Do you have to pay to join the state association?
It's connected. So generally speaking, what you'll do is you'll be part of the NPMA, and you'll pay your membership dues, and then that will link you, at least in Washington State. Then you're automatically, there's no additional fees. But but to be linked with the NPMA, it's not like a set dollar amount. It's like if you do X to X revenue, your cost is this much, and it's kind of tiered. So, but we pay our NPMA dues every year, and then you can put the little NPMA logo on all of your stuff, and just adds an additional level of credibility, kind of like the ACE with the with the Entomological Society of America. Just whatever differentiators you can throw onto your business to say, hey, we're going to the next step, we're going above and beyond, to know protocols and to be experts in our field.
Yeah, and to give a little bit of love to the NPMA, I mean, being a member, there are a lot of resources that the NPMA does give to both state associations and individual members too. So, I don't ever want anybody to think that just paying your membership dues gets you just the NPMA stamp of approval, but you do get a lot of resources too.
I can see that Sean wants to say something.
Oh yeah, no, we have like 2 trade bodies, and it's a weird time to talk about them because they're both going through such big changes, or it feels like that from the outside. I'm a member of the MPTA. I'm not like in with the clique. Hugh is. Hugh fucking loves it. He's on the board and all that shit. They would never ask me to be on the board. That wouldn't happen. But when you hear about the way you run, it always felt like it was a bit us and them with these 2 associations. But they've got 2 new bosses and everything's changing. And I think if I told you what was happening in this country in 12 months, 18 months time, I think it could be totally different. Do you agree or not, Hugh?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just there's a different feel for the first time. Isn't
In
it?
what way? Like, what do you mean?
I guess my hope, and most people's hope, is that they sort of unite a bit more and push in the same direction. It felt at times like they were a bit antagonistic towards one another. And that might just be I'm in one gang and I'm not a member of that gang, and I don't know, but I would love to think that at some point it would feel like they are both, because what happens is basically the BPCA looks after the bigger servicing companies, your Rent-A-Kills, your Ecolabs, although a lot of their members are smaller members, the big companies are in there, whereas the MPTA tends to have, I think the MPTA has more members but less technicians, whereas the BPCA has less members but more technicians.
Right.
But I don't know. I think we've definitely got 2 new people in charge, and they are for one of the associations for certain. It feels different. And the other association, I got to see the new CEO of the BPCA. Don't know her name. She was sort of pushed around on Wednesday, but nobody actually got to know who she was or what's going on. So there'll be a big announcement with that. I don't know where she's from. I don't know anything about her. I don't know how she's going to affect the BPCA or what, but I think everything will. It's one of them. Nothing's going to change, and everything's going to change, if that makes sense.
We're in a we've gone a lot ahead with the withdrawal of and use of 2nd generation anticoagulants.
Yeah.
And we're a lot more ahead down the line than you guys are at the moment. You're going to play catch up. I can see it.
Yeah.
But as the 2 organizations, which I'm sure the MPMA do for you, we're going to have to come together in a united front to ensure more that we're not pushed around by the government. Well, not the government so much, but the bunny huggers. We need a united front to ensure that we can protect public health. and not be separated apart because, well, one voice forward, two voices joining and going forward is better than two arguing against each other. And then the government looks at it and goes, well, is it you guys or is it you guys? Who am I listening to? So I think we're really going to have to, and same with you guys. I don't know how it works. If the government turned around and said no second generation anticoagulants, would the NPMA be the ones that would lobby the government, or would it be on a state thing?
It's a little bit of both. You know, a lot of times the restrictions come from the state level when it comes to those. And then, so you'll see a lot of pushback from state associations first, because that's kind of where it starts. Like me and Jake were saying earlier with California, you have a lot of those that kind of start bubbling up a little bit, and they start passing little laws one after another that start to impact that and affect it. And then over time, you know, the other states that have similar philosophies about those restrictions will start getting on board. So in Oregon and Washington, because of our closeness to California, our state associations have been very sensitive to those types of restrictions coming down the pipeline. So you don't see a lot of national, you know, US wide based bans like that, just because the areas and the climates and everything else is really different. So most of the state associations, unless it was something that was very, very big, which we haven't seen any regulation like that in a long time.
Yeah. So what we'll normally see is, so like Eric was saying, you have your state associations and you have a national association. So one thing that we push in Washington with our pest association is that there's something like a state legislative day where representatives from the WSPMA will go to Olympia and petition and lobby and things like that with our state leaders to, you know, push back against second gen rodenticide bans and things like that. You know, there's neonicotinoid bills that people are trying to push through and all these other things. So
we've lost them. We don't have them anymore.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yep.
Yeah. And it sucks because all it takes is somebody misusing them or not knowing how to use them. For people that know how to use neonicotinoids, they're great. But for people that don't or broadcast whatever, it's bad. So you'll have these people from the state associations will go and they'll try to inform, because just like everything else, you have lawmakers that don't know the first thing about the things that they're passing laws on. They're just getting pushed by,
we had a situation which was one of my things which proper fucking ticked me off over here. They got a lady in to do a study on basically how humane it is when we kill a rat, and they went through snap traps and calciferols and escars and and she'd come and she'd give a talk at last year at the Pest Tech or wherever it was, and BPC had been involved and some of the others had been involved, etc., and she was just a blatant fucking anti. And when you actually drill down into it, very quickly you found out that she'd run in my opinion, she'd run the experiments with a massive bias before and hadn't been fair in the way that she'd run them. And the evidence, when people started, she was talking about the amount of stress that a rat is under and how that affects how quickly it dies. So the more stress it's under, the faster the poison acts on it. So one that's baited in a rat in a lab, you know, might take 7 to 8 days. One that's baited, a wild one, might take 3 to 4 days, etc. And someone put a hand up and said, "But you're running this on the assumption that wild rats are under no stress, aren't they?" And she went, "Yeah." And she went, "You know that's not true, don't you?" And she went, "Yeah." So she was talking about like how humane traps are, and you're like, "Well, what about the dock trap?" Like, and she was like, "Don't know anything about that." I was thinking, you fucking liar. There's no way in the world you haven't read the like the literature about that. It was such a massive worldwide with us in this country, when New Zealand, Stoats and all that. Like, there's no way in the world. And some of the stuff she was doing, I was thinking, why are we letting this person? Like, why? It was like letting the fox into the hen house when you spoke to her. and she was just stood there with like this sort of smug grin on her face when she was giving this talk to pest controllers about why we should and shouldn't be doing stuff. And I was thinking, this is just fucking shit. This, like, it was a real. She wasn't very well received at all, but now her paper sort of has the backing of the pest control industry, for want of a better word. And there's a big push in Europe for snap traps to be seen as an ulterior motive, as an ulterior mode that we have. And they said, when I think, and I might be talking out of turn, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty confident that when we have 3 viable alternatives to escars, they're gone. So we now have calciferol. They're trying to get snapback traps, and you're thinking, fucking hell, like, this is, we are absolutely fighting. And as Hugh says, we're further down the way. We have no open use.
So every second generation anticoagulant, I might be completely wrong. Alex would have been better. They are all up for substitute for replacement. So if the suitable replacement can be found, they will be binned, and traps will come in place instead. And there are people in the European Union and manufacturers that are actively pushing and saying, these are bad chemicals. We can use traps. We can use traps. You can only use traps. So there are people that are lobbying. There is an actual lobbying group that are lobbying for the.
But the best of it is that the people who are involved in that are at our trade shows trying to sell this technology to us, and I think, just fucking cut them off. Cut them off.
Yeah.
Have them there, cut them off. But because they'll pay for a stand, they're there, and I had one of them as a guest on here. I wasn't really sure that he was doing that, but that's what they're doing, because obviously their business model is, we want to sell you smart technology and traps, so if they can get rid of rodenticides. So the good that they're trying to do, allegedly, it isn't. It's a financial benefit to themselves. That's what it is. There's no getting around it.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. And
So
you see I was just going to mention that, when you see big policy changes anywhere, right? Pest control industry, or really any industry, and we see this a lot in the United States. You see a big policy change, and if you follow the money, if you follow the financial impact that policy change has, you usually find somebody on the other side of it that is having some unbiased opinion or conversation about it, and you're like, I don't know about that. So
I mean, you're not cynical. You're not cynical, are you?
Weird. This is interesting. Yeah, there's some things that I would definitely change. I'll run for president. No, I won't.
No. So, would going back to the MPMA a minute, there was a question asked. I think Jasmine asked it. Would they cut? Do you just hand them money, or do they come out and look at your operation and say, yeah, they're suitable, or you need to do this, you're not suitable, you're a bit of a cowboy? Well, do you have that term, cowboy?
No,
what, you want to
I don't
handle
know
this
what
one?
that is.
Amateur sort of we call anybody that's
you mean a rogue wanker.
Yeah.
That's exactly
that's what we call it in America. Yeah.
Sure.
No, so that's such a great question, because you would think that with putting your stamp, that there would be some kind of criteria. You'd have to meet some kind of a baseline or something. But I don't know that the NPMA, they don't have the resources to handle that kind of thing. And actually, I do know that as part of the committee that I'm a part of in Washington State, that we were trying to lobby the NPMA to create a code of ethics of sorts that companies would have to adhere to, following like door-to-door sales practices, because there's been so many complaints against the pest control industry and against pest control companies about sales reps having, shady sales techniques and being pushy and pissing people off and giving the pest control industry generally a bad name by association with these door-to-door companies. That there's been a lot of state associations that have been pushing the NPMA to adopt a certain code of ethics that companies would have to sign, agreeing to, not having these types of door-to-door practices. And what we've experienced
with be?
Oh, just being a dick to people on, like here. Okay,
lying about competitors and lying about the
stealing,
service that you offer.
we get that all the time.
Fair
We'll
enough.
get in the summertime when the door teams are out, we'll get phone calls from customers saying, "Yeah, I got this guy that knocked on my door and he said that you don't sweep the eaves, and he also said you don't have a landscaping license." And we're like, "What the hell's a landscaping license?" I think what you mean is an ornamental turf and insecticide license, which we absolutely do have, and I guarantee you they don't have. Right? So I mean, it's just crap like that, right? Just pissing
Right.
people off. So a lot those pest control companies complain, take it up to the NPMA. But what we've experienced with the WSPMA is that the NPMA has actually um, been pretty hard about pushing back against adopting a code of ethics, at least in that area. So we do see that there is some pushback there.
Well,
But yours-
I was just going to
go on,
mention the NPMA and their ability to do like kind of like an audit on the quality of work that companies are doing. Proactively, they don't necessarily have that kind of program, but reactively, they do have some additional programs for companies to certify. So, for example, the NPMA came out with a while ago. It was the Quality Pro program. And I think there is 4 categories. I think it's green
Mhm.
certified. There's one for public health,
Restaurant,
there's one for schools, and there's one for food.
schools.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
4 altogether. And then they recently came out with the NPMA Pro certification, which is the individual certification. So the Quality Pro is based on the company. And then the Pro certification is based on just the individual. So they have some additional ones that you can do to kind of have their better stamp of approval. But yeah, like Jake was saying, there's no way that they can really audit companies other than that.
Tens of thousands of companies. Yeah.
So do you do a lot of commercial work then, or is it mainly domestics, like residentials?
We do.
For us,
Yeah.
for us, I think our
Some.
split's probably 90-10, 5-95, something like that.
Yeah.
We focus mostly on residential, and then there's a little bit of a mix that we have where it basically is a residential type service on what you might consider a commercial based account.
A dentist
doctor's
office
offices
running
and-
out of a converted residential structure or something like that.
Yeah. So not entirely commercial, but still qualifies, I guess.
But we do have a good handful of like strictly commercial type structures, like warehouses and so hot chocolate
Restaurants.
manufacturing facility, restaurants and things like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, we do have commercial accounts. But what we've found is that oftentimes in competing for bids for those commercial companies, we're going up against the big players, right? We're going against the Ecolabs and the Westerns and the big players, and they have the volume that we can't compete with, where it's just hard to compete at that price point. And honestly, at
Mhm.
that price point, it makes more sense for us to do a bunch of residential services instead of spending the time to do those big commercials.
So you wouldn't go any after? Is it the Institute of American Bakers? Is that standard? That's AIB for some food premises, or that it wouldn't be?
Oh, for like
don't have-
the additional
Oh, you're talking about like a
certifications for
certification.
yeah, no. There's a threshold that you have to get to before you really want to start going after those. And like Jake is saying, the margins on commercial accounts are much lower overall.
Okay.
Once you get
Right.
into the audited accounts, what we like to call them, the ones that are companies and commercial businesses that require pest control and they have specific criteria for those services.
Yeah.
The margins on those are even more crazy, not in a good way. And the type of equipment and type of personnel accreditations and certifications and the amount of specialized equipment you need are just not super conducive. There are
So
a handful of companies in our
who's
market
servicing
that
them
do
then?
that really well. Just it's tough.
Yeah, who's servicing them audited accounts as a general rule?
You're going to get, those are where you're going to run into the Ecolabs, the Rentokil Terminex types, Orkins, the bigger ticket ones. They're going to have specific commercial divisions where that's all they do. I remember when Rentokil made their acquisition of Steritech, and Steritech was a commercial only outfit. And they spent hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire them so that they could have a specific commercial division. So, it can definitely have its benefits when you have a good, strong commercial presence. But the difference between how you handle commercial, like a commercial operation, and a residential operation, kind of night and day.
Okay, because we have a split of both. We would do, because like for us, we probably got 60% commercial contracts and 40% domestic. But we do both. And we also do the audited sites as well. Because actually, believe it or not, slightly over here, that's where the money is.
Yeah.
I love that.
So is residential pest control, is that a common thing in the UK?
Not certain.
Pest control?
No, as and when, but not. You wouldn't be going every quarter or every month or.
No, we
Very
literally, if we don't have a pest, we can't do a treatment. It's as easy as that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So mostly, on the domestic side, it's kind of as needed.
But
on the commercial side, it's regular.
You know how you go, wow, at that? When we hear that you do quarterly treatments and just spray houses, we're like, wow, it's that fucking different. It is that different, I promise you.
Wow. That is pretty wild.
You couldn't. A customer couldn't say to you, "Well, I had ants last year. Could you spray around the outside of the house for ants?" Because you'd be like, "There's no ants there. We can't spray."
Yeah.
Okay, so is that a cultural thing, or is that like a legal thing?
That's law.
Yeah, it's law. Yeah.
Statutory label usage.
Yeah, the other
no pest, no treatment.
Caution it and what you call it. So we have to choose the least toxic method as well. That's like written into it. So if there's no ants there, spraying a toxic chemical is a zero. Like it's just not happening. But like for us, cowboys for us would be, you've got a lady who thinks she's got bed bugs and she hasn't. Happens quite a bit. She's convinced herself she's got fleas or what have you, and they want you to spray. They are desperate for you to spray, and you've got to go there and go, there's no evidence, we're not spraying. And then you'll get people they'll go and they'll spray water, or they'll spray comfort fabric and well, like, you fucking robbing bastards, like charging them for something to have it. Yeah,
no.
But yeah, we literally wouldn't. If there's no pest there, if there's no rats there, we can't leave. Is a general rule. People are going to shoot us for this, but it's a general rule. If you haven't got rats or mice, they should definitely not be rodenticide down in any way, shape, or form.
Wow. Do the same regulations and restrictions occur in the UK for commercial businesses?
Yeah.
Do you have to have evidence?
Yeah.
More or less.
Unreal.
Yeah.
We're just in shock over here. Like, you got to be kidding me.
I don't believe it. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm deadly serious. Yeah.
Okay. So you have. So let's say you've got a food manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
And obviously there's going to be mice at a food manufacturing facility.
If you haven't got mouse droppings or you haven't got evidence of mice, you ain't putting fucking rodenticide down.
Well,
wow.
You would have. So you
can do traps though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could, if you would need to document that there is a serious imminent danger to human health or a single mouse. But it is different because we have lots of commercial factories that don't have a mouse problem at all.
Yeah.
Because we
must
always believe in exclusion restriction instructions.
So
and we have to show
rodenticide in a box and you leave it, then what's going to happen is the slugs are going to eat it, and then the hedgehogs will eat the slugs. This will eat it, and it'll just get into it. So you should be, or what they're trying to get you to do is to either use smart technology and traps or put non-toxic in it, and then you're monitoring it. And if the non-toxic gets changed, you swap it out for a rodenticide, etc., etc. Hugh's right that you can risk assess it, and there is certain sites. So if you're on a farm where you've had a rat problem every 10 minutes for the last 10 years, that is a different kettle of fish. But if you're going to like a restaurant that hasn't had a mouse or a rat problem for the last 6 months, even last 3 months, you should be taking it all out and replacing it with non-toxic. You shouldn't have toxic down.
Well, I know why.
What's
I know
the
why there's
threshold?
Yeah.
I know why there's no rodents in the UK. Because I remember seeing the cartoon American Tail when I was a little kid, and I remember that there are no cats in America, and the streets are made of cheese, and so that's why all of the rodents left the UK and they came over here.
Yeah.
So if somebody calls and says, "Hey, I saw ants last week," and you come out and you can't see anything, can you still do a treatment?
You'd find them though, wouldn't you? With ours with the black garden, and you'd find the holes, you'd find the evidence, you'd find that if it was there. But yeah, like most of our insecticides are internal only. Like we don't do any spraying of outside houses,
And it would probably say Blasius niger, you can only use it for black ants anyway. So you can't just make up and, it's going to be, because that's really all we get inside. Well, we get the old Pharaoh's ant and Argentinian ants. And
like we don't, when we hear you guys like spraying the soil outside now, we're like, what the fuck? Like,
what are they doing?
We are cowboys.
So in the States, we've got the FIFRA 25B products, which for us are like the most green, EPA exempt type product that you can have, like essential oil based, super low toxicity. Do you guys have something like that in the UK?
No.
All your stuff is basically.
If you mentioned essential oils to most people, they'd piss themselves laughing.
Yeah. I promise you now, if I told my customers I was going to spray their house with essential oils, I would get 1-star reviews on Google's across the board.
What? Oh, we're going to spray the place with mint oil. Are you joking?
You know what? We get that over here. The saying. I don't know if you guys know a whole lot about Portland, Oregon, or the culture, or what Portland, Oregon is like. It's the granola hippie capital of the United States, right?
Did you call them bunny huggers? Bunny huggers. Yes.
Bunny huggers. There we go. Yeah. So we'll get people over there that'll say, can you spray something organic? And, as a pest control guy, you're like, you don't even know what you're talking about. If you're talking about apples and avocados, then sure, organic is great. But when you're talking about organic pesticides, when you're talking about like organophosphates and strychnine and all of these things that have been banned forever because we found much smarter, safer ways to formulate those things. And so there is a bit of a battle. You don't want to go into that with every single customer because it doesn't matter.
Right? Nicotine's an organic product. I mean, let's spray everybody's house with nicotine again.
Let's do some pure nicotine. That seems like a real good idea.
Yeah,
it was though, wasn't it? Used to spray nicotine.
Yeah, we don't do any like sort of cold calling, really do it. Any door knocking, anything. Every single one of our jobs would be generated by the customer having a problem, looking on the internet, finding you, contacting you and saying, I have an active problem, please can you come and solve it?
Yeah.
How do you stay in business?
Because everyone's doing the same. So you're only dealing with the number of pests that are there. And it's the person, usually Google's real important. So you need to be there. And then one job leads to two leads to three. You don't have the worry of people knocking on your doors really and saying, please, can I have your contract off you? So once you've got a contract, you'll often keep them for years and years and years. There'll be no handover unless you're fucked up or you've done something or what have you.
So you do have a contract with those people and you've contracted with them.
Commercials only.
Commercial.
So commercial's recurring, but domestic is not. It's as needed. As they
want.
Right.
Rare.
Very rare.
Wow.
Unless they've got a mansion.
I was going to say, there'll be like one rich bloke who's like, it's that big and like, can you, because he just doesn't care.
But castle. Got the old castle on contract, believe it or not.
No. Are you serious? A castle. You have a castle on contract.
Yeah. Stuff like that. And you might get, I mean, we've as a business, we've got actually some of our customers now. We've had them so long, they are dying on us.
Yes.
They don't change over; they die, and we lose the contract.
Yeah.
You know, I've been going to one lady. I've been going to for 35 years. You know, it's a big house, big manor house. So that would be the closest to a residential contract that we would
the
get.
other difference, I think, and I guess you're probably going to go, we don't do any of that. Most pest controllers won't be a pest control business on its own. A lot of them will have something else. So we do a lot of drainage work. We do a lot of honeybee removals. Some of them will go into like bird netting. Some of them will go into heat treatments for bed bugs. Some of them will some of them will do landscape. And I know lads who will do sanitary bin collections and washroom services incorporated in with it. Some of them will do like pressure washing or this or that. There's
Talk
not
about yourself.
Yeah.
Talk about yourself.
Who?
Oh, that's all we do. Pest control.
Yeah, but if you're honest though, Hugh, you'd probably be one of the few, wouldn't there? There's a lot of pest controllers have like other strings to the bow in this country, isn't there? Like an awful lot of them. You know, it's
window cleaning. Yeah.
But this is the thing. I tell you what,
Yep.
this is another one of my bugbears. We whinge like fuck, right? Because the window cleaner will go and get some ant powder and he'll treat wasp nests. And we're like, fucking window cleaners. What do they know about fucking pest control? Yeah, that's what we call them, window cleaners. But then we're like, when we see something where it's like, bloody hell, we could like cut grass on this job, we're like, we can do that. Like, it's totally the other way. When we do it, it's fine. When they do it to us, we are absolutely furious.
Of course, the other thing you've got to remember is that we're not licensed.
Yeah.
Wait, what? There's no licensing?
No.
Oh, no.
So you can do. I promise you can do a 2-hour course. Yeah, you could do a 2-hour course online for 80 quid. Yeah. Like, I don't know what that is in dollars, but
$100.
You can go out and buy professional use rodenticides and set yourself up as a professional pest controller. You could do it now and be a professional pest controller in the morning.
And you obviously have to have a registered business to do it.
No.
What?
No. Yeah.
Who are the cowboys now?
Yeah. Oh, fucking right. Yeah, there's loads of them out there. Yeah, loads.
I could start. Yeah, I could literally. You could. Sean's right. You could register with the government as a sole trader. Doesn't take anything. You're a sole trader. No checks or anything like that. I'm a sole trader. Could go online and within 4 hours. Yeah. No, probably less. Do your safe use of rodenticide course, and you could be operating tomorrow.
What? That's crazy. Yeah. So I mean, that's completely different than here, right? I mean, you've got to take a laws and safety exam, and they're tough. You got to study for it, and usually, there are 150 questions or something like that. Most people, it takes them 2 or 3 tries to pass it, and then you got to take at least one category. So we have all of our guys do structural pest, and then they'll take rodent, rodent. Or something like that, and then you got to wait for the pest or for the Department of Ag to approve those licenses. And usually we do that in Oregon. And then once we have those license numbers in Oregon, we transfer them up to the Department of Ag in Washington, and then they approve it, and then you get your license. And it's a whole process. And for us as business owners, we've got to be, you got to have your business has to be registered. There has to be an operator as the head of the business, and then all of your technicians have to be licensed also. So,
and
you don't
we all have
even
to
need to. You don't even need to legally be insured.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
No.
Oh my gosh, this is mind blowing. And so Jenny Wilson in the comments, she said, "Will it ever get old? The surprise of no licensing over there." I'm shocked. I am really shocked.
It's a massive talking point over here. Should we be licensed? Should we be not? And after talking to guys like Hughes and Andy from Coast to Coast and the other guys, I honestly believe, hand on my heart, the reasons why you can charge and why you can do what you do is because of licensing. You know, when you talk to Andy, he was charging, was it like equivalent to like 220 quid for a wasp nest? Our lads were charging like 45, 50 quid.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Yep.
Well, you know what? So that's the difference. We got to be licensed to spray bugs, but we can go carry guns out in public. You don't have to be licensed to spray bugs, but you can't have a gun. You know,
Can't have a gun.
Yeah, we've got to have a license. We've got to have a license to have a gun.
Yeah, well, we have to have license to carry.
We've got to prove the land we've got. We've got to put a firearms application in. Then the police come out. They'll check it. It's got to be locked and secure, etc., etc. And you've got to go through a process to get a gun.
You would only
you can't just have one. You're not allowed one. There's
no. You could only then shoot it. No.
The what?
You can't carry it outside of. You can't conceal carry.
There's fucking offences of carrying a gun
you'd have to,
in public. Yeah.
So to carry your rifle or whatever from your locked box in your home, you would have to then put it in a locked box to put it in your vehicle to take it to your site where you're going to shoot.
This sums it up. Listen to this, Hugh. The government doesn't even have a specific tax code for pest management. I think we're lumped in with cleaners. But listen to this. One of our customers got confused when he cooperated with a limited company and is registered as a public service. He thought when he got his first registration through, he managed to register himself as running a brothel.
The government's like, we care about that. Pest control, you guys are good. Don't worry about it. It's not a problem.
Yeah, it is a sick code. I'm sure. Are we cleaners, Hugh? Are we lumped in with the cleaners?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. I promise you, you go to any of the associations over here and say, how many pest controllers are there in the UK? And they'll be like, we don't fucking know. We don't know. We don't know how many companies there are.
I haven't got a clue.
We don't know how many technicians there are. We don't have a clue. And it can range from anything from people saying there's like 2,000 up to 20,000. No one has a fucking clue.
I think it's so heavily regulated, though. It's so heavily regulated. You can't do.
It's why, because there's no data.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we've also got this very, very strange rule with professional use insecticides.
Yeah.
In that it is not illegal to sell or buy a professional use insecticide, but it is illegal for an amateur to then use that product.
But but hang on. I don't think there's a set thing of what is a professional. So
trained and competent.
Because you're no license. So how do you know if a person's professional? They don't have a license.
Trained and competent.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the States, we have, it's kind of a similar setup, but most of the products that you have professionals using can be purchased, from places by someone who's not licensed, and they can use them on their own home legally, as long as they do it in accordance to the label and PPE and everything else. If they start charging for it, though, if they start running a business as it, then they have to be licensed with the Department of Agriculture. That all applies as long as it's not what we call RUPs, or restricted use pesticides. RUPs always have to be used and utilized by licensed professionals, but RUPs are probably, I don't know, less than.
Those are mostly on the agriculture side. Usually RUPs are applied to grain or crops or whatever. So we don't ever really see that. And you can't resell. You can't purchase that pesticides and sell them to somebody else without a specific reseller's
permit.
Permit.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's kind of similar.
I can see Sean's thinking again, because I've got to shout at myself because we're coming up to the time now.
Oh yeah. No, I think what we would say in the defence of the UK pest controllers. I was talking to Scott from BPCA, and he reckons that 80% of the pest control that is done in the UK is probably done by one of their members, and they are very much so. The crew that we have, this where we use anticoagulants, etc. That was brought about because HSE, our health and safety executive, went to the manufacturers and said, "Get your shop in order yourselves, or we're going to do it." So they are it's not that we don't have licensing, it's that they kind of we do kind of hold ourselves to account a bit, I would think. And the lads who are running around being cowboys, like, they don't last, do they, Hugh? They just don't last.
Don't get it wrong in the fact that you think there's hundreds of, there's not hundreds of of unprofessional idiots out there. Is there? There's lots that try, shall we say, but they're, like you say, they're not there for long. They'll get away with it for a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I would like to think that the vast majority of actual real companies are professional.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
I gotta say that.
No, I would say that. If I think in
Best
my
guess.
area, I look at the people around me, I would be happy with the lads who are out there doing the job.
We would
Well,
say
you think if somebody's out there doing it, that they would take at least some amount of pride, right, or accountability. Hugh thinks no.
Yeah, no, I personally
you would hope
believe
so.
that. Well, so we're finding it now because they've brought in like continued professional development in order to buy professional use for rodenticide. You have to do 20 hours, including 3. There's a lot of people incredibly unhappy about that. There's a lot of lads who don't want to do it, but are going to be forced into doing it, etc. And I guess human nature, if you've been doing something for 10 years and you've never been involved in the industry, you just do your own thing, you're still convinced that you're doing it right. Because you've done it for 10 years, and you're like, I've done this for 10 years and what I'm doing, son. You know, like, do you? Like, they genuinely believe that they are doing it right, but they're just not involved in the industry but they are few and far between. Do you agree, Hugh?
Yeah, I think so. Just to put it in some, I think the last guess at how many pest controllers there were, I think it was 10,000, wasn't it, Sean? That was the last sort of rough guess.
They don't have a clue when it comes to the smaller one-man bands, and because it's something that other people offer, so it might be a gardening service might say, listen, we'll sort out your rats for you here and like, do they count? So they just don't have a clue of how many we have. We're kind of just guessing it, really. But yeah, 10,000 I think is what most people say. But then you say, is that companies or technicians? And they go, well, you know.
Yeah, well, without the requirement of having your business registered, and B, having like a personal license registration process, it would be impossible really to know. And there's no data points.
So that's why they were asking the question earlier on. I'll put it back up. Do they ever audit your members? So our associations are a lot hotter on auditing and making sure that we conform to standards to be a member of that organization. So we do that. We do that quite a bit.
It's interesting because, the NPMA is not really designed to be a quality governing body. It's designed to be more of an association supportive body, where we have the departments of agriculture within our states, quality auditing bodies. They're federal organizations. And so I remember I was driving my company truck and I stopped at a gas station, and I wasn't even in the same market. I was in Idaho driving my Washington truck, and one of the Idaho Department of Ag guys was also at the gas station. And he came up to my window and knocked on the window, and I rolled down the window, and he's like, hey, my name's so-and-so. I'm with the Department of Agriculture. Have you ever been inspected before? And I said, hey, and I had a big smile on my face, and he probably thought I was crazy. But he quickly realized, like, hey, I'm not even operating as a pest control professional right now. I'm just kind of driving through. But that just goes to show you, like, how quick they are when it comes to auditing for quality. So every state has some type of Department of Agriculture, and those departments do audit and inspect and will bring out penalties for certain criteria. But they don't answer the NPMA.
I do wonder if the way we are in this country is why we can charge for the commercial work. Because I guess if you've all got licensing, they're like, yeah, he's got the license, he's got the tick in the box, everyone's got the tick in the box. Whereas when we apply for commercial contracts, they'll specifically ask to see stuff. They want to see copies of your risk assessment method statements. They want to see your insurance. They want to see this. They want to see that. They put these blocks in the way for you getting this job, because I guess most of them will have had their fingers burnt at some point by someone who wasn't licensed or wasn't. So they know that they've got to pay to get a more quality service, I would say. But it sounds like to me our idea of paying is your idea of not paying, like in terms of money. Because
and I want to clarify too. On the commercial side of things, once you have a pest control company in the States that is kind of fine-tuned for that commercial work, the margins are good. The contracts are good. The retention's good. The longevity is really solid. And those contracts can bring in a lot of really good top-line revenue, and the margins are healthy. There's a weird threshold where when your company's not to that point, developing it into that point is a really painful process for us. And because residential contracts are such a more common occurrence, that's why you see a lot more companies with a high percentage or high split of residential to commercial work, unless they're specifically focused on it. So that makes a lot of sense.
So is there any last few things that you need to, you'd like to ask us?
Now that we've talked about this whole licensing situation, I feel like I got all sorts of questions.
Yeah. When can we come to the UK and you take us to go see these castles that you're servicing?
Yes. We'll give you guys, we'll make you a deal. You take us to see castles, we'll take you to shoot whistle pigs.
Right. Yeah.
Bingo. Yeah. Which castle do you want to go and see? Barbara Castle, fucking Buckingham Palace. Where do you want to go?
Sean, if you imagine England, Great Britain is like that. Yeah. Sean's up there and I'm down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's got to be a few castles between the two of you.
Mate, there's castles everywhere.
I've driven past Buckingham Palace. That's it.
Oh no, that's miles away. That's nothing.
Yeah.
That's not a proper castle. That's not a proper castle.
Yeah, there's loads of castles. There's loads. We're not short of castles, are we, Hugh?
No,
I don't know what a castle is. No, we don't have
ancient Isle. We got the ancient Isle of Avalon, which is like 30 miles away, where King Arthur, and the Knights of the Round Table were.
Sign me up.
Were based.
Wait, that's real?
Yeah.
Oh,
sign me up.
You look more surprised at that than you do that we don't have licensing, King Arthur. I
thought it was a fairy tale. Listen, I'm a bloody Yank. I don't know anything about British history.
No history.
No. The stone. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah, I know.
So we can ask the last three questions, Sean. Where are they?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, right. Let me put it up so I can do it. Got it. Yeah, have you enjoyed your time on the podcast?
Absolutely.
An amazing time on the podcast.
Great.
100%.
Yeah.
So just quickly, hang on a second. Just quickly, do you record yours or go live?
We pre-record our podcast. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, we don't have these really cool stream of questions coming in. That's pretty cool.
It's so cool to have the viewers popping up questions and asking questions. That is really, really cool. It's neat to be able to interact with the viewers like that. That's really cool.
The only problem that we get with that is the time span. I've been trying to work out somebody from Australia to come on, and it's like 2:00 in the morning or something. So I don't think that's going to happen. But it's been great to have you guys on and say thank you. So
that's great.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
So we've got another question, and it seems every show we have a little bit of an innuendo in the way that we Yanks talk about things, pasties. We had another thing. What was the other one? So we always ask everybody, give us a shameless plug, which means give us
tell us about your number one benefit, product or service that you would want to sell to your customers.
For Natura customers or like BugBux people,
and you wanted to make some money and you had this one thing where you go, this is what I want to sell you. What would it be? Tell us about it.
So my shameless plug would be make sure you watch Beauties and Beasties, the only true independent pest control podcast in the UK and original. That would be my shameless plug.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So in that case, then ours would be, make sure you follow Natura Pest Control on Instagram. Give us plenty of thumbs up and likes, and listen to the BugBux podcast. The episodes drop every Thursday, and we've always got great content, great guests, and we'd love to see your comments on YouTube or on the BugBux podcast. Is it Facebook or Instagram that we've got that?
Either way, Facebook or Instagram. And of course,
and if you own a pest control company,
if you own a pest control company,
join the Facebook group. It's BugBux Owners Only group on Facebook. Go look that up and join the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
That's how to do it. You got it.
That's a proper salesman shameless plug. That in it. That's a cracker. That. Who would you like to see on the podcast?
On our podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone you can
I think
recommend?
you guys would have a good time. Have you ever reached out to Cassie Creechy?
I've tried.
Okay, we had her on our podcast. I think you guys would have a great time. She's the head of innovation over at Rentokil, and we actually talked a little bit about the difference in policy between the UK and us. So I think it'd be actually really cool for you guys. There's a few other that I have in mind. I think it'd be really fun too.
Cool.
Yeah, Cassie would be awesome.
Again. Now you've mentioned it, I can always say Eric and Jake.
Hey, the BugBux guys.
BugBux guys. Yeah.
Go on then, Jake. Who would you pick?
Somebody that we're going to have on our podcast pretty soon that I'm just so excited about, and I love her. She's such a good friend, is Lisa Epler. She's a Swiss-German scientist that works in the innovation department for Syngenta. And she's super cool. She's played a part in Syngenta's development of their newest active ingredient, I think is what it is.
Yeah, new AI.
Clonazepam. Yeah, new AI. So she would be really cool. She's super fun, dynamic. She's really, really cool. We're gonna have her on our podcast here later, a little bit later on this year. But she'd be cool.
I'll give you two good ones for you, which I think you'll get. One of them, go get Joseph Carter on your podcast. He's phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then the other one I would say is, if you can get him and tell him I've told me and Alex and Hugh have pointed in his direction, Dr. Richard Naylor.
I'm writing these down.
He's a bed bug expert, but like not to steal the thunder of it. He keeps them alive on himself. So he has like 2 rooms set up with live bed bugs in, and once a week he strips off, just climbs into bed and goes to sleep.
This guy's not married, is he?
He is one of the most interesting blokes you will ever talk to about bed bugs. He's fucking phenomenal.
And he's single, right? Wow. He's not married.
No, he's married, yeah. Him and Alexa, yeah.
So
that
next
awesome.
week we have another American on. We have Matt Fry.
Oh yeah.
Who invented the fry inspection tool. So he's on next week. So we're across the pond again next week.
I love it.
So
wait, one last thing.
Just wanted to say,
who's that mink guy? I got to get the mink guy.
I'll send you a link.
Yeah,
okay. All right. Love it. Okay. Sorry for interrupting.
Stay on afterwards. We'll have a quick chat afterwards.
After. Right.
Thanks ever so much, guys.
God bless.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.